gang, what's up? Just Aaron here, Question Period Canada. How you doing? We've got a very interesting piece here. Poilievre doesn't do a lot of scrums, but he does one yesterday, and he lights Trudeau up. Oh my goodness. Just the facts, how bad it is in Canada, things that he'd do differently, and what the real issues are. Here, let's spend 10 minutes with Pierre Poilievre.
Thank you very much, everyone. What Canadians need now is a common sense plan that axes the tax, builds the homes, fixes the budget, and stops the crime. Axing the tax, building the homes, fixing the budget, and stopping the
Axe
crime
the tax
is just common sense, and it's exactly what we need to repair the damage after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, who has doubled housing costs by funding bureaucracies that block building and printing $600 billion of inflationary money. He's given Canada the most expensive housing by far in the G7. Housing costs have increased 40% faster than incomes, the worst gap of any G7 country, the second worst of all 40 OECD countries, twice as bad as the OECD average. Our housing is now 25 to 45% more expensive than the States, even though their economy is 10 times bigger, their population is 10 times as large, and they have less land to build on. He's made it so that Vancouver has the third worst housing prices in the world. We now have 30 homeless encampments in Halifax that we never had before Justin Trudeau.
Bad in Halifax.
Our young people have to wait till they're 40, even though when I was housing minister, the average age to get a home was 29. That was only 8 years ago. Incredible.
No 20-year-olds or 29-year-olds are buying houses these days.
$750 to rent an apartment in Montreal when I was minister. Now it's over $2,000, a triple in one city. After 8 years of Trudeau, 2 million people line up at food banks. If you look at these images, just put them in black and white. What do you see? You see the Great Depression. When all the wonky economists are debating whether we're in a recession. For those people in those lineups, we are not in a recession. We are in a depression, a Justin Trudeau depression. The country's falling apart. The country is falling apart. Yesterday, there were nearly a dozen drug overdoses within an hour in Belleville. This is after 8 years of Trudeau effectively decriminalizing hard drugs and funding opioids and unleashing chaos by releasing repeat violent offenders into our streets. And in order to distract, he spreads fear and falsehood. He attacks hunters, small business owners, Muslim parents. He divides Jews against Muslims, Hindus against Sikhs. He divides East against West. He divides business owners against...
Trudeau does distract and divide all the time, gaslighting Canadians.
Distract from his appalling record of rising costs and rising crime. And we expect to see more of it. And just one quick story. Here we have in CTV a news story about a Gatineau man who had his Dodge Ram stolen, put an Apple AirTag in it. Thank God
lucky
he did
there.
That. And so he found out that it was at the Port of Montreal. Pinged that it was over at the port where I was yesterday talking about car theft. So he called the cops and said, good news, I know where my car is. They said, well, we can't help. You have to call CBSA. He called CBSA. They said, we can't help. You'll have to call the cops. CBSA says, we don't know what box it's in, so we can't get you your Dodge Ram back. And it just so happens I have a solution for that, which is that we should have scanners that allow us to look into the boxes to figure out what's there. Now, Trudeau spent the money on consultants. I'm going to spend it on scanners and 75 border officers so that we can open the right box and Mr. Roos can get back his 2021 Dodge Ram. That's a common sense solution.
It's common sense.
So that's what we need, common sense, to repair the damage that Trudeau has caused after 8 years. He's not worth the cost, he's not worth the crime. But when I'm Prime Minister, we're going to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime.
Poilievre goes hard with the journalists.
For puberty blockers and hormone therapies for trans kids?
What?
I think that Justin Trudeau is trying to divide and distract Canadians by spreading disinformation about the decisions that premiers and parents are making.
What do you think? What do you think?
I want to know your position.
What is your own party policy? It's your own party policy. A party convention.
I think we should protect the rights of parents to make their own decisions.
What does it mean?
With regards to their children. And I believe that adults should have the freedom to make any decision they want about their bodies.
But
How
minors,
about
I think
children?
they're-
Ban
I think-
surgeries and medical interventions for minors, as your own party members suggested.
Medical
sir.
interventions like what?
That is the language that your party
What medical
used.
interventions?
Well, you would have to ask your party members.
What medical
such as
interventions?
such as puberty blockers and hormone
For
replacement.
Putting it
minors?
back on her.
Irreversible? You're talking about
I
irreversible?
want
I'd like to understand
do
your
you
I just want to be
agree
clear.
with
No, I want to be clear. I just want to be
blockers
clear.
for minors?
Puberty blockers for minors?
Do you agree with that?
Do you agree with
I
that?
think that we should protect children
What
and their
does that
ability
mean?
to make adult decisions when they're adults.
So
and
you
that will
think
protect-
only
I think-
adults, only adults should make
The idea of a puberty blocker to me
only adults should take.
It's just a bad
I think we
idea.
should
Like,
protect children, let them make adult decisions when they become adults.
So that
Puberty
means
blocker?
you don't-
Come on.
You are against puberty blockers for kids under the age of 18. Is that
Yes.
unclear? Okay. What about, can I ask you about, in Alberta?
By the way, I just want to make another comment on this. Justin Trudeau is again puffing out his chest, trying to divide Canadians and attack parents who are trying to protect their kids. He will, in the end, back down on this, just like he had to back down on his firearms policy, just like he had to back down on bringing in medical assistance in dying for people suffering from mental illness. Just like he's backing down again and again and again, he will back down on this because he is not interested in protecting kids. He's interested in using this as a divisive wedge to distract from doubling housing costs and quadrupling carbon taxes on our people.
But it's for you, so you're against puberty blockers for kids under the age of
Yes.
18. Hey, what about opting in?
Yes, I am.
What about parents in Alberta having to opt in for sex ed? Where do you
I can get on board with not thinking that that's a very good idea, giving that choice to a child.
There is a measured decline
Come on.
in support for the war in Ukraine, especially among your voters. What is your message to them, specifically them, to convince them that Canada must remain on side?
My message is that we have to defend against countries that are mercilessly invaded by aggressive powers so that we dissuade dictators from this kind of aggression. And, you know, I would say that Justin Trudeau has done absolutely nothing on this file except divide Canadians. He deliberately divides on the subject by inserting a carbon tax in a trade amendment that has no place there. And Canadians are against the carbon tax. I'm against the carbon tax. Trudeau never should have tried to divide Canadians on Ukraine
Will you tear up
by
that deal?
forcing the carbon tax into that agreement.
Free trade deal if you become prime minister?
We brought in the Ukraine free trade
The
deal.
new one, the new
There
version.
is no new one. What there is
It was just passed in the House of Commons
what there-
yesterday.
If I could, what there is
Interesting,
carbon
right?
tax amendment. You know what happened
It's
if this
just a
deal
carbon
didn't
tax
pass?
amendment.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Because we already have a free trade agreement. What we have now is a carbon tax amendment to a pre-existing deal.
So what would you do
Carbon
if you
tax-
become prime minister?
We're not going to honor a carbon tax amendment.
But your supporters
We're-
already
we're
don't
going
like
to-
the carbon
we're
tax.
going to-
Why don't they support Ukraine?
They don't,
That's your
because
question.
they don't support the carbon tax.
So
They
you
don't-
think that all of their support, their declining support for Ukraine is linked solely to the
carbon
carbon
tax?
tax in this free trade deal?
the carbon tax was inserted by Justin Trudeau, not by my supporters. Why did he do that? No, but I'm just curious. Can you explain to me why there is a carbon tax in the agreement?
No, but the question is why.
No,
is
no,
it-
I asked you a question. You keep asking about the agreement.
We're the journalists.
Why do you, why do
I
you
can
think-
answer.
why do
We
you
asked
think
the
you're
question.
saying-
I have the freedom to ask questions if I want to, and I've just answered.
Getting into it.
I've been answering your questions
All
all
right,
week.
here's another
So,
one.
no,
The government's introducing
why would
an
they do a
investment
carbon
tax
tax?
credit.
No, you're not changing the subject. I know you want to change the subject.
I wanna ask a
because you don't want to
question.
talk
I wanna
about
ask a
Trudeau's
question.
carbon tax. You
I
don't-
want to ask a question
No.
because in a democracy,
Sorry.
we ask the question and you answer.
And I decide the answer I give. And the
Yes, you
answer
do.
is this.
Won't be bullied by the journalists.
We will axe the tax. And Trudeau can try to divide Canadians by putting a carbon tax in a free trade agreement that we already had for years. It won't change a thing.
It's misleading.
Because I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax with delight and with passion and with incredible speed. So when I'm Prime Minister,
Sounds good.
you will be shocked at the speed with which I will axe the tax. And the Canadian people will be able to look up at the gas stations and see the prices coming down. And Trudeau can try to distract from his hated carbon tax by putting it in a free trade amendment to a pre-existing agreement. It won't stop me because I will axe the tax, I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax. Thank you.
But not an industrial.
And he's gone. So there's 10 minutes with Poilievre. He goes hard with the journalists. Poilievre seems like a much more real person to me than Trudeau, who is completely fake and phony. I don't trust that guy at all. We need a carbon tax election. Poilievre's going to win that majority, hopefully, so he can make the changes he says he's going to make. Let's wait and see. Like and subscribe. This is Canadian Politics right here. I'm Aaron. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next video. We've got lots more coming. Take care.